Welcome to AI Pulse, where we break down the most important AI news of the day. It's December 30th, 2025, and wow, are we tracking some big stories today? Everything from some just staggering user numbers to a full-on global regulatory showdown. Okay, let's get right into it.
First up, you got to see this number from OpenAI. It's just wild. They've just announced that ChatGPT has 800 million weekly active users. I mean, let that sink in for a second. That's more than the entire population of North America using it every single week.
And yeah, all those users, they translate into some serious money. OpenAI is now valued at a staggering $500 billion. And that's not just a big number, that is more than the GDP of most countries on the planet.
So here's what we've got on tap for today. We'll kick things off with those big headlines, then we're going to dive deep into the global battle over AI regulation. We'll also see what the tech giants are shipping, check out a holiday promo that went, well, horribly wrong, and then we'll wrap up by looking at how AI is already changing our world in some pretty surprising ways.
Those numbers from OpenAI, they really just set the stage perfectly. They highlight the incredible speed and scale that AI is growing at. And that explosive growth is exactly why our first big topic today is the global race to regulate all of it.
So, as AI gets more and more powerful, governments are finally starting to step in. They're moving from just watching from the sidelines to actually taking action. The problem is, they're all taking very, very different approaches.
And this has led to what the experts are calling a compliance splinternet. What does that mean? Well, it essentially means that an AI product that is perfectly legal and even celebrated in one country could land your company in some serious hot water in another. It's turning into a real minefield for developers.
And this slide right here, it really highlights the two competing philosophies at play. You've got the US, where the focus is all on innovation first, pedal to the metal. The government's even trying to block states from making their own AI safety laws. But then you look at the EU, and it's a completely different story. They're taking a much more cautious, rights-first approach, building out this complex system of rules that's all based on the potential risks of an AI.
In this timeline, it just goes to show how complicated the EU's plan really is. They're rolling it out in stages over several years, and the strictest rules, the ones for high-risk systems like AI and medicine or hiring, well, those won't be fully in place until late 2027. So yeah, it gives companies time to prepare, but it also means some of the most impactful AI tools are going to be in a sort of gray area for a while.
And it's not just a US versus EU story. As you can see, other major countries are all carving out their own paths. You have the UK trying to find a middle ground, and then you have China, which is really focused on state control. It's creating this incredibly complex and fragmented global landscape for anyone trying to build or deploy AI.
So, with all this regulatory uncertainty just swirling around, how are the big tech companies responding? Well, let me tell you, they are not waiting around. They are doubling down, racing to dominate the market before all these rules are set in stone.
Sam Altman from OpenAI, he put it perfectly. He said AI is no longer a toy, it's becoming essential infrastructure. Just think about that for a moment. He's saying AI is becoming something we'll all rely on every day, just like electricity or the internet. And the tech giants are in an absolute all-out sprint to be the ones who own that infrastructure.
Take Microsoft. They're embedding what they call AI agents directly into programs like Excel and Word. Now, these are basically smart assistants that can understand a complex goal you have and then just do it for you. So instead of spending an hour fighting with a spreadsheet, you could just tell Excel what you need, and boom, it builds the entire model for you.
And of course, Google is firing right back. They're really focused on making their AI faster and more personal. For instance, their Notebook LM integration. This means you could ask your AI a question about a document you wrote, and it would give you an answer based only on what's in that document. That is a huge step toward AI you can actually trust.
But all this incredible software, it needs some serious hardware to run on. And right now, there's a huge battle brewing over a type of memory called SRAM. Look, all you really need to know is that it's incredibly, incredibly fast, which is exactly what you need to run these giant AI models without them slowing to a crawl. And that's why NVIDIA reportedly spent a fortune to license this tech. It's all about speed at the most fundamental level.
But as these companies race to get their products out there and scale up to millions of users, sometimes the user experience can get a little bumpy. And a perfect example of this is what just went down with Anthropic, the company that makes the AI chatbot Claude.
So, they decided to give their paid subscribers a little holiday gift. They promised double the usual usage limits for the last week of the year. Sounds pretty great, right? Well, it wasn't.
Because instead of getting more usage, thousands of users found that they were hitting their limits even faster than before. I mean, talk about a backfire. It was a classic case of a marketing promise just completely crashing and burning, turning what was supposed to be a gift into a source of massive frustration.
And yeah, people were not happy. The online forums just blew up with angry users. And one person summed it all up perfectly with that classic gaming meme. The cake is a lie. For anyone who doesn't know, it basically just means the reward you were promised, it isn't real.
The overall feeling was that this gift was actually a punishment, especially for the people who use the service the most. I mean, this user's comment just says it all. I have rarely hit the limit on Max, and I hit it today after just about an hour. What the heck? You can just feel the frustration in that.
So while some companies are clearly struggling with these growing pains, others are quietly using AI to solve some of the world's biggest problems, far, far away from all the chatbot drama.
Check out In Silico Medicine. They're using AI to discover new drugs in a fraction of the time it used to take. We're talking about a process that normally takes almost 5 years, and they're doing it in just over a year. This isn't just an improvement. This could fundamentally revolutionize medicine as we know it.
And over in China, where the population is aging so rapidly, AI-powered robots are becoming a really essential part of elderly care. They can provide companionship, help with mobility, even monitor people's health. This is such a powerful example of how AI can be used to tackle major societal challenges, like a shrinking workforce.
So after all that, what's the big takeaway here? When you look at all the headlines from today, it's pretty clear that we're at a really critical and honestly kind of chaotic moment in the story of AI.
On one hand, you have this absolutely incredible, world-changing innovation happening. But on the other, you have this messy, complicated regulatory landscape and a user base that's often left feeling kind of powerless. So the big question is, as AI becomes this deep-seated infrastructure in our lives, who's really in charge? Is it the companies building it, the governments trying to regulate it, or is it us, the people who are actually using it? That's the question we're all going to have to answer in the years ahead.